Well, again, welcome everybody. I'm glad that you've shown up to the NASA JPL speaker panel. My name is Don Barry. I chair the Physical Sciences Department here at Mesa College. And thanks for being here today. So I just wanted to give a quick introduction about the STEM lecture series. We have a whole series of public science lectures planned this semester, and this happens to be one of them. And we've had a number already, but we have a couple more coming up. So I just wanted to briefly, actually, no, I won't share my screen. Instead, what I will do is I'm going to put a link to the master STEM lecture series schedule in the chat. So there it is for everyone. And hopefully someone can click on that link and give me a thumbs up just to make sure it works. Good. Okay. So what we'll do as well, maybe a day or two after this this event, is I'll post the Zoom recording on that same document that I just sent you the link for. So I'll remove the meeting link and replace it with the Zoom recording in case you want to go back and look at things. So once again, thanks for being here, everyone. And I'd like to, at this point, turn things over to my colleague, Caitlin Choi, who runs the Office of Work-Based Learning here at Mesa College.
Thanks,
take it away,
Don.
Caitlin.
Thank you. Welcome, everyone. My name is Caitlin Choi. I'm a Work-Based Learning Coordinator here at Mesa College, and I'm glad to be partnering up with Professor Don Barry on the STEM lecture series to bring you these two awesome speakers from NASA JPL. So we're really thankful to have Jenny Tu and Eric Carson with us today. Jenny is an Education Program Manager at JPL. She'll be providing an overview of internship programs and the application process. I've known Jenny since 2012, and know that she's a really strong advocate for community college students. She's really working hard to increase our access to hands-on learning opportunities at JPL. She's seen many community colleges sending their students her way. So she's been mentoring them, working hard to coach them through success. She started off her career at JPL as an intern herself. So she knows exactly what it means to be a good intern. And she's been working at JPL for many years. Our second speaker is Eric Carson, a software systems engineer at JPL. He's also a former student of mine. Eric interned at JPL for multiple summers as part of the Bridge to Engineering program, and is now known as STEM Core, which we have a program here at Mesa College. He will be sharing his experiences working there and advice for the application process too. So we'll have a Q&A with them before ending the event with a short survey for you to share your thoughts and comments. So at this time, I'm going to stop sharing my screen to allow Jenny to share hers. And in the meantime, so appreciate your patience while we're getting set up in this kind of wonky Zoom space. So there we go. And whenever you're ready, Jenny, take it away.
Okay, so I think I have everything in place. Can you all hear me? Great.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for the opportunity to be part of this panel today. I'm super excited to see everyone join us today. And again, as Caitlin mentioned, my name is Jenny Tu. I'm with the Jet Propulsion Laboratory. The Education Project Manager. I've been with JPL over 25 years, or close to 25 years. And as Caitlin mentioned, I started out as an intern, and I feel like this role that I'm currently in is bringing me back full circle with my experience at JPL. And so today, I'd like to share provide an overview of the STEM internship opportunities that are offered at JPL. So with that, let me move on to the next slide. Before we do that, though, I definitely would like to give you an overview of NASA. For those, I'm sure all of you are familiar with NASA, our National Aeronautics and Space Administration. The NASA vision, of course, is to discover and expand knowledge for the benefit of humankind. And as part of doing that, there are several NASA centers across the US. There are a total of 10 NASA centers with also 7 smaller NASA facilities and that test and study Earth and space. This map here shows where each of the NASA centers are located. Included in the NASA family, of course, is our International Space Station, ISS, and also field centers like Vandenberg and Wallops, which serves as launch locations for some of our missions. And not to forget, we also have our Deep Space Network, which is an international network of antennas that supports interplanetary spacecraft missions and radar astronomy observations. So that encompasses all of the NASA centers and field facilities. So with that, I want to point out that in California, we are lucky to have 3 NASA centers located in California. Specifically, Ames Research Center is located in Northern California. And then in Southern California, there's JPL, Jet Propulsion Laboratory. And then there's also the Armstrong Flight Research Center in Southern California. So, all right, so since I'm from JPL, I'd like to provide you with some additional information about JPL, and specifically the internship opportunities today that I'll be referring to is center unique and available through JPL. So again, JPL is a NASA center located in Pasadena, California. We're not too far from Caltech. For those of you who are familiar with Caltech, we are actually managed by Caltech for NASA. So in that sense, the employees that work at JPL are not civil employees. We are Caltech employees, and the lab is also known as a federally funded Research and Development Center, an FFRDC. Let's see, we are known for our robotic space exploration and Earth missions. We manage NASA's Deep Space Network. Actually, one of the 3 facilities, DSN facilities, the closest one to us is not too far from where JPL is, where it's located in Goldstone, California, so it's not too far from where we are. A little history about JPL. We're actually was founded in 1938 by Caltech students. These are rocketry students research students who are testing out rocketry in Pasadena, and their experiments became too dangerous and too loud. And so the professors there and the campus admin asked them to go to the Arroyo Seco, where it's secluded, there's really no one nearby, to test out their experiments. And so lo and behold, that started the roots of now what stands in the Arroyo Seco, about 6,000 plus employees, and over, I guess our footprint is the size of Disneyland in Anaheim, California. So from there, from 1938, 20 years later, we were asked to join the NASA family. And at the very beginning of our engagement with NASA, there were a lot of experiments for the Department of Defense. So we were very involved with that at the very beginning. But that shifted, even though we are still doing some DoD defense work. Most of our work is engaged in space exploration and Earth exploration. Currently, we have over $2 billion base business with over 6,500 employees on lab, although most of us are working remotely now due to the pandemic. And we also have over 22 active missions currently at any given point. Okay. So I'm going to pivot a little bit now to talk about the internship opportunities. So as I mentioned, I'm with the Education Office at JPL, and I'm going to focus my presentation today about the internship opportunities offered through that office. So there are educational experiences that we offer to students who are currently, enrolled and working towards a STEM degree. Our internship programs are educational experience, and it requires a minimum of 10 weeks to start. And then from there, you can extend out your internship beyond the 10 weeks to, the extensions can be anywhere from 2 to 20 weeks, depending on what works best for you. For the most part, it's 10 weeks, but then we also have a specific program called a SERI program dedicated to local participating community colleges. And that program requires a 15-week commitment. For all of our internship programs in the education office, the minimum requirement is anywhere from 9 to 40 hours per week. SERI requires, again, because it's dedicated to our community college students, 10 to 15 hours per week. And that program actually provides course credit unit for students to enroll in and then participate as a student. I don't like to call it volunteer, but they participate as a student who's working on a research project that is working towards an academic 1-unit course. Right. So for all our internship programs, students are completing a research project guided by a mentor. So if you're assigned to a technical project, you're either guided by an engineer or a scientist on lab to complete that project from start to finish. And as part of the experience, we ask students to complete a project plan, submit progress reports, final paper, final report, as well as deliver a final presentation. And in addition to having the technical experience, we also provide professional activities, professional development activities to students during their internship. We have weekly seminars that we invite students to. These are talks similar to the ones that you're hearing now, but we invite our engineers and scientists to come out and talk about their research. And in some cases, we invite those folks to also share, their journey to JPL and what that looks like for them currently as they're progressing in their career. In addition to those weekly seminar talks, we also, when we do return to in-person internships, we offer tours of the different lab available around the lab. We also have networking opportunities for students to meet with and engage with other researchers on lab. In some cases, we offer roundtable discussions where we invite our employee resource groups to come and meet students and provide an additional layer of informal mentoring and interaction. And then also we often provide a resume workshop and also an internship networking opportunity. So those are all the experiences that's involved with the education programs. Okay, so what are some of the eligibility requirements for these programs? The programs are open to US citizens and or lawful permanent residents. So LPR students who are green card holders are eligible to apply. Although we ask that the applicants have to be working towards a STEM degree, so either an undergraduate or a graduate degree in STEM. The cumulative GPA, minimum GPA is a 3.00 on a 4.0 scale. First internship has to be at least a minimum of 10 weeks. And for the SERI program, in addition to these requirements, students are asked to have a faculty sponsorship at the participating college. Okay, so what are some of the benefits to the students in participating in the internship programs? First off is that we offer a stipend award to most of the programs except for SERI. SERI only offers a 1-unit course credit in place of the stipend award. And the stipend award for the most part is about $730 a week for an undergraduate student and $900 per week for a graduate student. And for part-time participants, that's prorated based on the number of hours the participants are available to participate. And then in some of our programs, especially the Maximizing Student Potential in STEM program, there are also additional supplemental allowances available to students, like a travel and housing allowance for anyone who's considered a non-local participant. And non-local students are considered folks who are attending in a university or college that is 50 miles from JPL. For those who are eligible for that additional allowance, there's a one-time $1,000 travel allowance offered only once, and then an additional $100 per week housing allowance is offered to anyone who's eligible for the, is considered as non-local. I think I mentioned this earlier, but one of the benefits of the program really is conducting research-based projects guided by, world-renowned scientists and engineers on lab. So you're getting this mentoring experience. And then also, in addition to that, we noticed that there are a lot of opportunities to co-author on papers and or presentations with the folks that our students work with. In fact, over 200 research papers were co-authored by former and active interns. Back in fall 2020, when we did this study, we found over 200 research papers were co-authored by our students. And then not too long ago, we also had a student who presented his work, his research with his JPL mentor at the NASB conference, which is the National Society of Black Engineers conference in the fall. And that paper or his presentation was selected for the best undergraduate presentation at the national conference. So that's kind of a kudos opportunity for that intern. But as you can see, these are examples of ways and benefits that can come out of these internship experiences with us. And last but not least, the internship opportunities are, for the most part, the first step into JPL, right? So for students who are interested and ready for full-time opportunities, we highlight our students to our human resources department for full-time opportunities. And we did a study in FY20. We found that for that particular fiscal year in FY20, 85 interns in our programs, our programs were converted to full-time employees that fiscal year. So I know that that number is about 2/3 of the total full-time hires of undergraduate and graduate students for that year. So goes to show that as participants in the program, you're being highlighted for the different opportunities onto a successful trajectory to a STEM career at JPL. Okay, so I wanted to include the slide to capture some of the research areas and majors along with skills and interest areas, just to provide you with a general sense of the three different sections or areas at JPL: our science, our engineering, and our technology areas. So in the science area, our scientists are analyzing and interpreting data returned from spacecraft. And also our scientists play a key role in shaping future space missions. The skills and interests they're looking for in this area, of course, is data analysis, data reduction, research and laboratory instrumentation skills, and a lot more. For the engineering side of the house, our engineers are innovative role models. They're typically designing, building spacecraft and instruments that make worlds of discoveries possible for us. And the skills here that we're interested in are engineering design processes, CAD, all of the different communication skills. Also, programming and math skills are very important in this area. And then technology. So JPL technology goes to space and beyond. So our technologists build applications to connect us with faraway spacecraft. And they also develop creative solutions for problems that affect humans on Earth. So here you typically see things like electronic circuits, operating systems, programming, superconducting type of skills. And then you see all your computer science related majors under this section. Note that the thread through all of these three sections is the analytical, critical, and innovative thinking skill areas. So make sure you note that, because that's very important. That's something that we see in common, a common thread through all of these areas. Okay. So here the slide is to share with you the wonderful photos and pictures and faces of our interns. These are actual interns at JPL. These are not photos of students that I pulled from the internet. These are interns that have participated in our programs currently or in the past. And it's to show that our interns are actually contributing to important research that's done at JPL. They're contributing to their mentors' research as well as NASA research. They're not making copies or getting coffee for their mentors. Again, they're making real contributions to the research that's done at JPL and NASA. We've had aerospace students worked on Perseverance rover. You may have heard of that landing for about 6 weeks ago on Mars. So those students in that particular project help the spacecraft, help keep the spacecraft as contamination-free as possible. And that was under a contamination control group within JPL. And then we also had students work on the Spitzer team to help document space telescope data. We've also had students work as part of a team on new concepts for the next Mars rover mission. So Brandon, who is pictured here, actually was recently converted to a full-time hire after his undergraduate degree was completed. He actually participated in a 2019 internship, summer internship, and before he left the lab, he was given an offer in hand for June of 2020 when he graduated from his undergraduate degree. So again, we do try to promote students who are interested in full-time opportunities, as well as those who are interested in and ready for conversion to full-time hire. We highlight them to our human resources counterpart for hiring purposes. Okay. So if you're interested in applying for an internship program, I included the slide to show you the steps, the different, the steps to apply for an internship. So first off, the link on top is where you can go to read more about the different programs. We have a dozen different internship programs available through the Education Office. But for the most part, I recommend looking at the summer internship program, which is available only during the summer. There's the MSP program, which is our Maximizing Student Potential in STEM program. That's the program I manage, and that is specifically available in the summer, fall, and spring. And then we also have a year-round internship program that is also available through summer, fall, and spring. And of course, our SERI program is only available fall and spring because of the course credit connection. All right, so if you're interested in applying, I encourage you to go to this website, read about the different programs, make sure that you meet the eligibility requirements, and then select Apply Now. Once you get there, you'll see a student application. Go ahead and complete that application, answer the different questions on the application site. Once you're ready, upload your resume, and then also you'll need to also upload your transcript. And I recommend saving those two items, those two files as PDF files before uploading them onto the application site. And then last but not least, once you're ready and you've made all the edits that you need to your applications, hit the submit button. Once you do that, you should get a confirmation email that your application was successfully submitted. If you didn't get that confirmation email, you might want to go back into your application and make sure that you hit that submit button. In general, our recommendation for application is as follows. For the summer opportunities, we recommend that you apply by December, no later than December 15th or the last week of December, because most of the opportunities and application that we'll be going through will happen in January, February timeframe. And so our summer opportunity typically is from May through August. It's typically for a 10-week internship. And then for fall, which is considered August through December, those opportunities are available for you to be considered for about June, July timeframe. So please go into the application site if you're interested in applying for fall by June and July and submit that application then. And then for our spring session, which takes place from January through May, the application there should be submitted sometime between September and October. And then my last slide here of my slide deck is I want to close out by saying that, we invite you to dare to dream. This slide shows three people who were considered for, have been picked for the moon landing Artemis team. And Jessica Watkins, who is the lady in the center there, featured in the center, was one of my interns from 2014, I believe. And she has been selected for the Artemis, astronaut corps, and we are so proud of her. And also to the left, to the right of her is another student that participated in our internship program at JPL, and he has also been selected for that same team. And then last but not least, we also have Stephanie Wilson, who is featured on the left there. She worked at JPL for quite a bit of time before being selected for this team. So we're really excited and proud of all these individuals for being a part of, for being selected to join the Artemis team. And we want to pass that excitement to you and let you know, encourage you to dare to dream, because we want to share that space, exploration and excitement of exploring space and new discoveries with everyone. And we invite you to join us in doing that. So with that, I'll pass it back to Caitlin.
Thank you, Jenny, for such an awesome presentation. That was such a great overview of JPL and NASA and the internship programs. And so now I'd like to invite Eric to come on stage and share your experiences as an intern and transitioning into full-time software systems engineer.
Okay. Hi guys, I'm Eric Carlson. I'm a software systems engineer. I've been at JPL now for 6 years. I started as a summer intern in 2015. Yeah, it was 2015, and I worked as a summer intern, and then I was doing web development. I was working with a backend server. I had like 2 years worth of college experience. At the time, I was going to Saddleback Community College in Orange County. I was studying computer science and taking math and physics at the same time, and just being really dumb about it. Too many things did not go very well. Good learning lesson. But I've been at JPL now 6 years. I spent my first 3 months as an intern, and then I spent another 3 months as an intern. And then I spent another year as what's called a year-long program intern. And I kept working on what's called enterprise software for about 3 years at JPL. And once I was getting close to graduating, I got the opportunity to work on flight software. So for about 3 years, until I would say October of last year, I was working on flight software, doing automated code generation. And then for the last 7 months, I'm actually back with my old team, working on as a systems engineer, mostly doing systems modeling of everything under the sun, and which is just really a term for fancy diagramming that you can create simulations on and execute them and share data between different types of engineers. I don't really know what else to say, unless it's easier if some people want to take questions. I can go about my projects. I can go about my life lessons. I wasn't really sure what to talk about this time. I'd rather take questions if that's okay.
Yeah, Eric, can you talk a little bit about the, just to kick us off, the projects that you worked on as an intern, and what kind of skills you would have to get started on that?
Yeah. So my first project, as I said, I was a web application that I was working on for launch systems engineers, and it wanted to take what's called model data, which is what I'm doing now. It's the same kind of information and data. There was a systems engineer, systems launch engineers, more specifically. He was modeling all the different launch systems that we use at NASA and mostly around the world. So you hear about SpaceX's Falcon 9 and their rockets, that's a launch system. So he was modeling these launch systems, but there is no way to share that information and have it be consistent between all the different NASA stations. So he modeled all the different vehicles, and he wanted to create a way to share that information where someone put in different parts of their actual space vehicle, and they wanted to match that to the launch system that would best suit their missions. And the idea would be to then do what's called a ride sharing initiative, where instead of having one spacecraft go up per rocket, you would essentially pack a bunch of different ones into one spacecraft or one space vehicle and launch them at the same time. So I developed an application that let engineers go through and put their specifications into it, and it would pull the model data out and give them what they needed. So I worked on that for about 3 months for my first internship, and then I continued to support that for about 6 months afterward, but I switched to working on the backend database for these model systems, and because I had more of a passion towards algorithms. Now, the skills that I needed to be able to get that internship was really, I had only taken a year and a half of computer science, and the skills I learned in school were good. They taught me basics, but I had to spend a lot of time outside of class teaching myself skills that are more work related. So things like software control management, like Git. I had to teach myself front-end development because we were learning C, C++. And I also had to teach myself a little bit more about diagramming and UMLs and all these other things that you don't really, there's no class for it. I mean, you can take a online class to learn how to make web applications, but it's nothing like when you actually start interacting with a customer and he's giving you feedback on what you're doing, and you realize everything you've ever learned was either wrong or completely like half wrong. And you kind of just learn how to go with the role. So those are the skills that I had when I came into JPL. And I found out that the amount of effort I put in outside of school made a bigger difference. And I'm not saying school's bad. School is definitely worth it. It was just, there was a lot more to being productive in my field than just taking a math course or a computer science course. The other skills that I really need to learn were soft skills. So learning how to talk to people and communicating and being able to write coherent emails. That is a big one. If you can't communicate through email with some of these engineers, you're gonna have a tough time. I would think that's about it when it comes to the skills I needed. And as time has progressed, I've had to learn additional skills like methodologies. I'm currently what's called a product owner for my team on one of the things that we're developing. So that means that I interact with the customer and the development team, as well as being a developer myself for the product. But I am the liaison that blocks the team from having to take criticism or feedback from the customer themselves. And I digest it and produce the work that actually needs to be done rather than just taking a request and completing it. For other skills, I'm really trying to think. Yeah, the real skill is learn how to teach yourself. I mean, I think that it would be the best way to summarize this skill that I would say that's outside of school is just learning how to teach, and not like learning how to learn. And everyone learns different. When I learn my math and physics, I have to spend a lot more time than a normal person. When I have to learn an algorithm, it's way easier. I don't know why. This is how I work, but I'll spend 8 to 10 hours learning a chapter in a book just to understand at least parts of what it's saying. One of the other tasks that I'm doing right now is I'm teaching what's called object-oriented systems engineering methods and to the other NASA stations. And I do that on a bi-weekly basis, but I wouldn't consider myself an expert in the field, but I have to teach myself enough to tell people who've been at NASA for 30 years what they're doing wrong. So On that topic, I have to spend 8 to 12 hours, but when I have to implement like a function in the code I'm working on, maybe a couple of hours just to figure out what's wrong. So yeah, you just got to learn how to learn.
Very cool. Thank you, Eric.
Yeah.
I'm still kind of like, it's such a trip to be like when I first met you, you were at intermediate algebra, I think, right? This was
Yeah.
like 2013, I think.
Yeah.
Something like that. And now you graduated from UCI, you're a full-blown professional, you're speaking a language I can't understand, which is amazing. I think the journey from intermediate algebra to like gibberish to me, I think it's amazing. And it's kind of like you talked about math being, learning equation, and it's a lot harder for you than learning algorithm. And so that's really interesting to hear in terms of like, it didn't come easy for you. And I think that's a struggle that a lot of students have to face.
Yeah, Caitlin, so one of the things that happened to me right before I got my internship at JPL, it was a kind of a breaking moment for me because I had just interviewed, I think a day before with my mentor at the time. And I had a Calc 2 exam, my first Calc 2 exam, and I failed it. And I completely bombed. I was bawling my eyes out. I had no idea what I was going to do because I'd never failed a test that badly. And I mean, I bombed. I think I got maybe a 20% on it. And that's just one of those, Calc 2 just turns out to be a class that you have to be able to memorize equations and techniques and be able to regurgitate them in a very quick time. So it's very difficult. When it comes to math, I always like to derive my equations so I could take my time, figure out how to solve the problem, because I understood the methods on how to get to the solution rather than just knowing the solution. So I broke down crying because I failed my class. And Caitlin literally like within 20 minutes came up like, Eric, you got the internship. And then I kept crying because I got the internship because I kind of felt validated that, like I'm not dumb, because I always felt in the B2E program, it was a camaraderie, but it was also kind of a competition. So at the time, I just felt like, man, maybe I'm not smart enough to do this. Maybe I can't. And yeah, getting the internship was really validating that even if I work hard at this, I can still do this.
Thank you for sharing that, Eric. I also want to open up. Oh, I see a question drop in the chat from Jasmine. What advice would you give community college students applying to internships? Sometimes I feel a little hesitant because internships require APS. So Eric and Jenny, feel free to chime in.
I can start. For me, because mine would be that, at least with my group, and I just went through interviewing a bunch of interns and looking at resumes. The funny thing is that my lead, he says he doesn't want anyone from MIT, Harvard, Yale, because in our group, it doesn't work as well because no one in our group particularly stands out, but the work that we do stands out. So when it comes to an application, having project experience, showing that you have a variety of passions is like the most important part, at least for me. I actually interviewed a kid, and the thing is I went through all these interviews. I actually wrote a script that would parse all the PDFs and give me all the key words that I was looking for in the PDF. And then I found this guy that he was from MIT, but he had a project where he had to train a robotic dolphin to swim. And it's really difficult. And that was the only thing I really cared. And I literally only talked to him because of that. And this other kid said he was into guitars. So I was like, hey, if he has a passion about guitars, I really just want to talk to him. I want to find out what he's like. Maybe I can work with him. And you'd never really know what a person what they're looking for when they're looking at the resume, because you're not going to be, there's those kids that are going to be really super overachievers, awesome kids. Then there's going to be everyone else, and you never know what someone really wants. And I think Jenny might be able to expand on this, but there was one intern that was an origami master for one of our projects. And that's the skill that they needed for it, because they needed to solve how to take this huge piece of shade and how to compress it into a small area that they can put in a launch vehicle that then can expand to the exact same shape that it was compressed to. And that's not a skill you're going to have. You're not going to have an origami skill in university. So you put the things you're passionate about. Of course, keep your grades up and have your school projects, but don't be afraid to put things on there that are going to be, someone would think is weird to put on a resume when you're applying for an internship, especially at JPL. We're a bunch of weird people here. Like, don't be afraid of it.
That's great advice, Eric. And I can add to that. I think that what you just touched upon in terms of making sure not to be afraid to open yourself up and put things that you don't really think should be on your resume, put it on the resume. As Eric mentioned, I actually have had students who put that they play guitar, and I had students, had mentors who actually picked that resume up because of that relationship, that the mentor plays a guitar, and that stood out for that particular resume. And so there was a match there, and lo and behold, there was an internship out of that. Also, I think I'd like to add to what Eric is saying is that don't be afraid to submit your application. Don't let that stop you. If you're interested in an internship, submit that application. Work closely with your faculty members, your mentors, with Caitlin, with others on campus to put together a really comprehensive resume, and then submit that application along with the resume. But what I want to say here is also JPL internships are designed for your benefit of the student, the participants who are participating in the program. We do not expect you coming to the internship knowing everything. That's not how it's designed. You're there to be mentored by a JPL engineer or scientist that will guide you along the way to complete the project. The most important thing I think to keep in mind is it's so important to know that, what we're looking for are people who are students and interns and participants that our engineers and scientists can mold into a potential employee of their group. So that differs from group to group based on who you're working with, what the characters are, and what each group environment is like. So it's different from group to group. There's no cookie cutter type of experience, right? So just keep that in mind. Be willing to learn. Put 120% into your internship if you get selected for one. And don't be afraid to put yourself out there. Submit that application, submit the resume. One of the things that I see a lot of students who may not have, there's a lot of different students who may not have experiences in the STEM world. So what I recommend there for those who don't have a lot of experiences is to include your academic experiences. Academic classes, competitions, or projects, academic projects that you're a part of that is STEM related. And then also, if you're not part of any of that, have you done any volunteer work? Do you tutor? Do you do community enrichment activities with students in at the high school level, and so on and so forth? If you tutor, and if you volunteer, I want to see that on your resume. That speaks to your character. It shows that you care about your community and others enough to give back by participating and offering your time in community-based events. And then if you're tutoring someone, it demonstrates that you're actually pretty savvy in that particular topic, right? If you're able to teach someone something, you probably are pretty good in that topic or subject. So it demonstrates that you've got a grasp, in that area. So those are my additions to that question.
I have a question for Jenny. Hi, Jenny. It's nice to see you again.
Good to see you, Austin.
It was actually cool seeing Ryan in one of your photos. I was like, Ryan. I actually have like two questions. First one, for the SERI program, you mentioned schools within a 50-mile radius of the lab. Is that just community colleges, all schools? And also, is like our district even eligible? That's my first question.
Those are great questions. So SIRI is an academic-based program. So in order to be eligible, you have to have a faculty at your college nominate you for an opportunity. And so we'll have, I don't believe we have anyone currently at San Diego Mesa College that is a faculty member that participates in this program. So first we have to start there. And Caitlin was so instrumental. She helped us locate a faculty member who was willing to wear that role at Saddleback. So currently, SIRI is offered for local community colleges. However, we've expanded to Saddleback, which isn't too far from San Diego Mesa. Am I correct?
Yeah, I mean, we're, let's see, about 20 miles south.
Okay. So the only sort of a difference there is the geographic location. We've offered SIRI to local community colleges because it is 10 hours to 15 hours per week. And it's a lot of driving time. If you're coming from San Diego to JPL, that's at least 2.5 hours on a good day, right? So we've kept the program sort of to the local area, but because of the remote internships that we've pivoted to because of the pandemic, we were able to then expand SIRI to Saddleback this current spring semester. And so if we continue to offer remote internships for SIRI, we'll be able to open it up to students outside that radius that you were referring to.
Let me add to about that driving. So when I for the 4 years that I was going to school while working at JPL, I went to Saddleback and then I went to UCI. That is 60 miles one way. I took the train, I drove, it's no joke. And if you have to actually go to work, going to school and taking 15 units at a time, it can be done. I did it and I did well. I had a 3.5 when I graduated, but it's not easy. You don't expect a social life, but it's worth it if you're willing to make that commitment. Just to put it out there, if you're thinking about making a long commute to go to work and go to school, it's not easy.
Thank you both. That's really good information. And Jenny, lastly, not technically a question, but definitely in your purview. I mean, not technically a question from your presentation, but in your purview. Do you know when JPL is actually going to start inviting people back to the lab for things like internships, in-cast, stuff like that?
Great question, Austin. Right now, we are operating in remote mode for internships through the summer. And there are talks that we might open it up to in-person in the fall, but it depends on the lab's, how the lab rolls out the on-site return to work on-site, I guess, when we get to that point. There is currently what I've heard so far, and Eric, correct me if you hear differently, what I've seen on our COVID update site for internal JPL site is that May 15th is the earliest. The employees, some of the employees may be able to return to on-site work. But of course, that's barring how the pandemic, how the cases drop or arise, right? And so we're going to have to monitor that very closely. And so it's going to be a phased approach, is my understanding. A certain number of people will be invited back if they want to come back on site. And then the next step would be to do that with a second set of folks. And then I believe our intern would be the last group that would be invited to come on site. And that's sort of the approach that has been shared with me.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you for the information. Good to see you again.
Likewise.
Any other questions? You can drop it in the chat or you can unmute yourself like Austin did.
I see a question in the chat about whether the internship programs offer accommodations, and maybe the person who asked that question can elaborate a little bit on the kinds of accommodations you were referring to.
Well, maybe I can take a stab at responding to that question. So the accommodations that I see offered through our internship programs are the travel and housing allowances through the year-round program and the MSP program.
He specified disability.
Thank you. Yes, that is a completely different question. Yes, accommodations are offered for folks who have disabilities. We can work with our Human Resources Office, our Employee Resource Group. I'm sorry, not Employee Resource Group, our Human Resources Group to help provide any additional accommodations that are required. As for an example, when we had on-site internships, we had a student who required a certain software because of his visual impairment. And so we were able to work with the lab to purchase that software for him so that he can accomplish his internship project successfully. Then we also had students who were who requested for accessibility accommodations. And so we had folks go out and look at the area that that particular student will be sitting at to complete his project. And we made sure to work with Human Resources to provide the accommodation that was appropriate for that. I hope that helps.
And then it looks like Leo has a question about whether non-credit continuing ed would qualify for internships. Maybe you all can probably see that in the chat.
Okay, so I'm not familiar with the San Diego Continuing Ed program or non-credit system degrees. Can you elaborate on that?
I think they're asking if you have to be enrolled in a 4-year or a 2-year university, right?
Yeah, so the way how our continuing ed college works is they have short-term degrees and certificates that are non-credit, which may be an issue with Siri, but I'm not sure with the other internship programs if this may be a problem.
Yeah. So I think for all of the internship programs, the student has to be working towards, a BS or MS degree. Certification programs will not be, students enrolled in certification programs will not be eligible for Siri or the other MSP or YIP or SIP programs.
How about an associate degree?
Oh yes, AS degree as well.
Okay. So I see that we have about 5 minutes left, so maybe we could take one more question from the audience. Deuce, I see you have your hands up.
Thank you. And thank you both. I mean, it was amazing presentation, but thank you. So quick question. I just arrived like a year ago to San Diego from my country, and I actually did all the process to validate my studies here. So I'm computer science engineer and my master is an MBA. And I wonder if there is any program that you guys have like mentoring or volunteering or other programs that might qualify for someone that it is non-enrolled actually in currently in the 4-year degree or the master degree, the graduate or undergraduate.
There are NASA workshops that you might be able to participate in, similarly to what Austin is referring to earlier. The NCAS program is an online, it starts off with the online course that you enroll in. And then once you complete that and score high on your final exam or test, then you're eligible to be considered for an on-site workshop. And it's different than an internship. What it is basically an on-site workshop for 4 days at a NASA center. And during those 4 days, you can participate in teams to work towards a fictitious Mars competition with each other. So you form teams to come up with a budget, a plan, software engineering skills to then program a LEGO Mindstorm rover to then retrieve, I don't want to give away too much information about the competition, but to go to Mars. And so I think something like that would be open to students who are working towards, who aren't necessarily working towards a bachelor's or master's degree.
Awesome, thank you.
So there is a question about if we're hiring for cybersecurity. I don't know if cybersecurity takes interns, but I know we have a pretty beefy cybersecurity team, but I wouldn't know if they take interns. The certifications are beneficial, I will say that. And that's something you should, if you have certifications on technologies, you should definitely put that on your resume as an intern. Also, if you have clearance, that can be a real gold mine. If you're pre-military, if you're a veteran or some kind of military with security clearance.
Yes, and I think we do take interns in our cybersecurity group. I know of several projects that are being offered to interns this summer. It's very, as Eric mentioned, it's very far and few, but there are opportunities. I see a question there or a statement that says, I completed the MCAS course. Will that make a difference in my internship application? Absolutely. We like to see NASA activities and whatnot on your resume and application. It tells us that you're very serious and that you've taken the steps to participate in various NASA related activities provided through the agency.
Hello, everyone. Caitlin asked me if I would share a little bit about my INCAS experience, just because there's a lot of questions about it. And like Jenny said, I'm not going to give anything away about the competition because that was a little bit part of the fun of it all. But basically, you apply, like if you click on that link, there's an application. It's pretty straightforward. You need at least one letter of recommendation. You get in, if you get selected, you do, it's a 5-week course. You take, I think it's like 4 tests, 6 tests, and then you do a final project where Lunar Institute resource utilization. And my score on that paper got me invited to JPL, where I met Jenny. And I got to hear her internship presentation once before. But it's a lot of fun. I will say that you will not be able to work on school while you do it, because it's all day for all 4 days. Like, you're not going to have time. So I would just keep that in mind. But it's a super enriching experience. They like take you all over the place. If you get selected to JPL, we got to go all over the lab. Like, while we were there, the Perseverance rover was actually packed up on the truck. So we got to see, like, we could go up and like touch the truck or whatever, but like none of us did, obviously. But like, it's just like, there it is, it's right there. So that was pretty cool. We got to go to like the mission control where they do all this stuff. We get to go around. You get to meet all these NASA professionals, make really good connections, and like people I still talk to this day. And honestly, it really set me off down on the path that I'm on currently to try to, like, you know, get my engineering degree and then go further and do more stuff. So I really recommend that anybody who's interested, that you actually apply, because like even just the online thing is enriching.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Austin. So I see that we're 1 minute over, so I'm gonna pass the mic to Don to close out the event.
Well, gosh, thank you everybody so much for being here. What an enlightening event to hear about all this. Thank you, Eric, and thank you, Jenny, for your time, honestly. We're so glad that you're with us. And but most of all, I want to thank you all for being here, the audience, the participants. I certainly walked away with some great information that I'm going to pass along to my students. And I see Professor Fitzgerald from San Diego City College is here today as well. So thanks for coming, Brodney. And to all of you, thanks for being here. Again, I'll have the event recording posted on that link I just sent in when I say 24 to 48 hours or so. And by all means, keep in touch, everyone. And if you're at all interested in applying for an internship, please contact myself, please contact Caitlin, and we'll do everything in our power to make that a reality for you. So thank you so much to everyone. Caitlin, you have any words of wisdom to send us on our way this afternoon?
Gosh, lots of love to Eric and Jenny for coming. Thank you so much. Please, audience, if you can share your feedback with our survey form, that would be amazing. That's what we use in order to share thoughts with Eric and Jenny and see how we can improve our future events. And also it's something we use for our grant proposal too. So let us know how we can help better meet your needs as students. So thank you everyone for coming. Again, thank you, Eric and Jenny.
All right, take care, everybody.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.